When people imagine Roman slavery, they usually picture gladiators bleeding in the arena, chained prisoners breaking rocks in mines, or silent servants pouring wine beside rich men in white robes. Those images are powerful, but they do not show the full story. The hidden side of Roman slavery is much bigger, stranger, and darker than most people realize. It was not just a cruel system at the edge of society. It was sitting right in the middle of Roman life. Rome loved to show itself as civilized. It had roads, laws, temples, aqueducts, public baths, armies, markets, and massive cities filled with noise and movement. But behind that polished image were millions of enslaved people doing the work that made the empire feel powerful. They cooked the food, cleaned the homes, raised the children, copied the documents, built the houses, worked the farms, carried goods, managed accounts, and served the rich. Rome did not simply have slaves. Rome ran on slavery. The disturbing part is how normal it all became. For many Romans, slavery was not seen as shocking. It was part of daily life. A wealthy Roman could wake up and be dressed by an enslaved attendant, eat breakfast prepared by enslaved cooks, send a letter written by an enslaved secretary, then walk through streets maintained by laborers who had no freedom. Even ordinary businesses depended on enslaved workers. Shops, workshops, farms, bathhouses, and private homes all used enslaved labor in different ways. The system was everywhere, which made it feel invisible. Not every enslaved person lived the same life, and that is where the story becomes more complicated. Some were forced into brutal labor in mines, fields, mills, and construction sites where exhaustion, injury, and death were constant dangers. Others worked inside homes as tutors, doctors, accountants, hairdressers, musicians, cooks, or personal assistants. Some were highly educated. Some spoke Greek, read literature, handled money, or taught elite Roman children. But no matter how skilled they were still legally property. That is one of the coldest truths about Roman slavery. A person could be trusted with a child's education, but not trusted with their own freedom. They could manage a business, but not control their own life. They could be intelligent, loyal, talented, and valuable, yet still be bought, sold, punished, or separated from the people they loved. Rome could recognize a person's usefulness while refusing to recognize their full humanity. Inside Roman homes, slavery often looked less like chains and more like control. Enslaved people lived close to the families that owned them. They raised babies, prepared meals, arranged clothing, carried messages, cleaned rooms, guarded doors, and sometimes spent decades inside the same house. They knew family secrets. They witnessed weddings, arguments, births, and deaths. Some were treated with affection. Some were trusted deeply. But affection did not mean equality. That is what made household slavery so emotionally twisted. A Roman child might love the enslaved nurse who raised him, but that nurse could still be sold. A tutor might shape a young boy's mind, but he still belonged to the boy's father. A servant might be called loyal, almost like family, but the moment the owner decided otherwise, that family feeling could disappear. The relationship could look personal, even warm, but underneath it was always power. Another hidden part of Roman slavery was what happened to children. Many enslaved people were not captured in war as adults. Some were born into slavery. If an enslaved woman gave birth, her child usually inherited her status. That meant a child could grow up in a Roman house, speak Latin, know Roman customs, play near free children, and still be considered property from the first breath. Their life did not begin with possibility. It began with someone else's ownership. Imagine growing up beside free children, hearing the same stories, walking through the same streets, seeing the same temples, and knowing that the law placed you in a different category of human being. That is not just labor exploitation. That is identity being stolen before a person can even understand what freedom means. Some enslaved people were allowed to earn or manage a small amount of money, often called a personal fund. In some cases, they could use it to buy freedom. Others were freed by their owners as a reward, a business decision, or an act of personal loyalty. This process, called manumission, created a large class of freedmen and freed women in Roman society. On the surface, this sounds like hope, but it was also another way the system controlled people. The possibility of freedom could keep enslaved people obedient. Work hard enough, behave well enough, please the owner enough, and maybe one day you would be released. But even after freedom, the past did not vanish. Freed people often still owed duties to their former masters, now called patrons. They could gain money, run businesses, marry, and build families, but Roman society often reminded them that they had once been enslaved. Freedom was real, but it was not clean. It came with shadows. The Romans also depended on enslaved people in places we do not always expect. Some worked for the state, not just private owners. Public slaves could serve in temples, archives, water systems, administrative offices, and other public services. They were part of the machinery that kept cities functioning. This means enslaved people were not only hidden in kitchens or fields, they were also behind the paperwork, the accounts, the maintenance, and the daily operations of Roman public life. That makes Rome's greatness harder to admire without discomfort. The empire's order, beauty, and efficiency were built with people who had no choice. The clean water, grand buildings, smooth administration, and rich households all carried the mark of forced labor. The empire looked organized because millions of people were forced to hold it together. Resistance did not always look like a giant rebellion. Of course, the revolt of Spartacus is famous because it was dramatic and terrifying to Roman elites. But most resistance was smaller and quieter. An enslaved person might run away, hide money, work slowly, break tools, protect a child, preserve a memory from home, or refuse emotionally to become the obedient object Rome wanted them to be. These acts may not fill history books like battles do, but they mattered. They were ways of saying, I am still a person. The tragedy is that we rarely hear enslaved Romans speak in their own voices. Most written records were made by the wealthy, educated, and free. That means the story of slavery often comes through the words of the people who benefited from it. Owners wrote laws. Philosophers debated it. Politicians depended on it. But the enslaved themselves were usually left silent in the record. Still, their lives have not disappeared completely. Inscriptions, tombstones, household objects, legal cases, graffiti, and archaeology give us small flashes of real people. A name carved in stone, a job title, a relationship, a sign of grief, a trace of ambition. These fragments remind us that enslaved people were not background characters in Rome's story. They were parents, friends, workers, survivors, teachers, builders, and human beings with fears and hopes of their own. That is the hidden side nobody talks about enough. Roman slavery was not only brutal because of chains, punishments, or hard labor. It was brutal because it could fit anywhere. It could look like a farm, a schoolroom, a nursery, a shop, a kitchen, a bedroom, an office, or a government building. It could appear violent, polite, useful, intimate, or even normal. That flexibility made it powerful. It also made it terrifying. Rome did not rise only because of genius generals, clever laws, and beautiful architecture. It rose because countless people were denied control over their own lives. Every marble column, every luxury villa, every grand dinner, every famous household, and every smooth-running estate had human cost behind it. So when we look at ancient Rome, we should still see the roads, arenas, temples, and empire. But we should also see the people standing behind them. The cooks, nurses, builders, tutors, farm workers, scribes, and servants who made Roman life possible while being denied full ownership of their own lives. Rome did not just build with stone. It built with stolen freedom. Rome looked powerful on the outside, but behind its marble was stolen freedom. If this changed how you see ancient Rome, like and subscribe.